Welcome to Around the Board, a show where four board game enthusiasts discuss board game topics and news. We begin today's show by putting yet another guest on the hot seat. After a mild bit of torture, we'll move on to everybody's favorite, Play Shelf Trade, after which we discuss obscure themes. And to round out the show, John will once again attempt to stump us in a game of Believe It or Not. So, without further ado, welcome to our very special holiday episode with our special guest, Keith Ferguson, creator of Santa's Workshop, John Theismann, Chris Thomason, and myself, Andy Barnett. Now join us around the board. Hey guys, how we doing?
Hey Andy.
Well, let's address the elephant in the room, or not in the room. Daniel's not here. He bailed on us. I guess he had a holiday party of his own to go to, or something like that, right?
I thought he was doing like you. He was trying to recapture his youth because he used to play on a 43-man Squamish team, and so he got that organized and had a neck injury on a frulip. Frulip caught him in the neck, and so his Adam's apple's dislocated. So
okay,
unfortunately, he won't be with us.
I don't know these terms. Keith probably doesn't know what we're talking about either. Keith, little known to you probably, but I was absent from the show for a couple episodes because I decided to try and relive my glory days of playing ice hockey as an adult and broke my ankle promptly, like 3 games in. So,
well, I don't know. I mean, you don't need your ankle to talk on a podcast, right?
What's that?
You don't need your ankle to talk on a podcast.
Well,
that's true. But my studio is like 2 flights down, and I was stuck in my bed. I was a pansy, so I was late.
Fair enough.
Anyway, but I'm back. Daniel's gone today, but we're glad to have you here, man, and have you be on the show. If you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You got the game that is one of the hottest games right now in Santa's Workshop.
So hot right now.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. So, yeah, I've been a gamer, I guess, most of my life, and I'm, of a certain age here. So I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, playing a lot of, Avalon Hill, the Milton Bradley type games, the Fortress Americas, the giant World War II game that I'm blanking on the name of.
Axis and Allies?
Axis and Allies. Well, I have like 3 versions sitting on the shelf, like right through the door, and I couldn't blank on it. So yeah, lots of D&D growing up, like first edition, second edition D&D. Went to college early 90s, kind of took a break from gaming, and then I was introduced in the early 2000s, maybe the mid 2000s, to like this whole new like Euro gaming and modern board gaming, and just caught the bug, right? So yeah, I've been I've been playing that scene for the last 15-ish years or so, and just diving deeper as I can. I got just more personal wise. I got a couple of kids. One's a freshman in college. The other's a junior in high school. So that keeps me just a little bit busy. So I don't quite play as many games as maybe some folks, but fortunately my kids tend to like games. So we got some built-in gamers in the house. So yeah, that's sort of my general background.
Nice, man. Well, we're so glad to have you, and man, I can't wait to dig in a little bit to Santa's Workshop. We're going to grill you on the hot seat here. I got some questions for you about it. I've played the first edition a ton. I got to play the second edition finally, and I'm stoked about some of the changes there. There's some good stuff there.
Yeah, great.
And I believe you've been gracious enough to offer our listeners, our viewers, an autographed copy of Santa's Workshop.
Absolutely. I got, as designers, we get a number of copies as part of our contract. So I have some sitting there, not quite collecting dust. I haven't had them long enough to collect dust, but yeah, I'm happy to send one out to listeners. And I can't promise that somebody will get it before Christmas. But
sure. That's all right. This is a game that can be played year round. It's a fun one. So
yes.
Stay tuned for more details on how you can win a copy of Santa's Workshop Second Edition. We'll share that with you here at our commercial break. But in the meantime, there is a reason people are here. They are here for this big reason. What is it? It's this reason. Work. There we go.
Time to play the game.
That's right. It's time to play the game. Around the Board is all about debating different topics within tabletop gaming in 4 unique segments, each hosted by one of us. A behind-the-scenes judge will award points. At the end of the show, the contestant with the most points will be allowed 2 minutes to spout about whatever the heck they want, with one judgment eyebrow raised. Now, it's time to play said game. Round 1. Fight! So, for our first segment, we are playing one of our most popular games. It's a fun one. Whenever we get a guest on the show, we get to do this, and we're so excited. It is called the Hot Seat. And what is the Hot Seat? Well, we're going to throw some rapid-fire questions at our guest, Keith Ferguson, designer of Santa's Workshop. He's going to answer those as best he can, and hopefully we won't grill him too much and sweat him out so he can stick around and play the rest of the show, because we're excited to have you as a regular contestant here today. So let's get this party started.
So hot in here. Hot, 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 hot. Hot, 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 hot. I said it's getting hot in here. So hot.
It's hot. Damn hot. Real hot.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
All right.
So hot right now.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
That's hot.
I forgot how long that sound clip is, guys.
Forgot how much I hate it.
All right, so I'm going to start us off here. Santa's Workshop may be the best example I've ever seen of a game where a theme elevates it to a new level. What inspired you to design this one, and why do you think there wasn't a serious hobby tabletop game with a Christmas theme previously?
Yeah, great question. So I will say that I got the bug to design a game maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. My friend Paul Owen put out a game called Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, not associated with the movie. But that was like the first inkling to me that, like, hey, wait, you published a game? There's people that design games and publish them. And then he had some other games in the works, and so I started sitting in his playtest session, and I really liked the whole, creative aspect of going through and talking about the game and all that. So I thought, I think I'd like to do this for myself. And at the time, my kids were, 8 and 10 years old. So I thought, I'd want to start with sort of a family level game that my kids can enjoy the theme and enjoy the actual mechanics of the game. Now, so I don't really remember when the light bulb went on about Santa's Workshop. Maybe it was Christmas time when I was thinking about this. I'm not sure. But I keyed on that theme as something my kids would enjoy, and then I started designing a game around that. I'm not sure, at least in the first edition, that I was so successful about making it something that younger kids would enjoy, but it definitely is, for gamers, sort of a light to midweight worker placement. And I will say, at the time, my favorite game that I was playing at the time was Lords of Waterdeep. So you might see some, a little bit of influences in Santa's Workshop from that. So yeah, basically just got the itch to design a game, wanted to make it family friendly so that kids could play, and went from there.
Very cool. John, what you got for him?
Well, let me ask you something real quick, because I played the original Santa's Workshop, and my brother owns it, and his family loves that game, and I played it with them. And the big source of consternation is always the race to get the hammers.
Yes.
And that causes many a night of him sleeping on the couch.
Yes.
So is that still a part of the game, or is that something that's changed in the new version?
No, that was the number one thing that we went to fix.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. That was the big issue that I heard the most about from the first edition. And for people that haven't played the game, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit, but basically you're sending elves around, you're collecting materials to sort of recipe fulfillment, if you will, for different toys. And I sort of stuck maybe a little too much to the theme in the first edition, where I said, you got to send your elves out and get everything you need to build the toy. And then you got to go get your tools or your assembly tokens to actually build it. So that made it so that in the last, round or two,
yeah,
everyone just needed those assembly tokens because they'd gotten the other stuff, and everyone needed those tokens. And you can even tell in the first edition, I have a rule for the last round that says in the last round, 2 elves can be placed on every space in that room, which is, sort of a cheat to get around the problem that I knew was there, but I didn't really want to fix it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the first thing we set out to fix in this game. And the fix was real easy. You can get the tools, or in this version of the game, they're blueprints. You can get them anytime you want. So, so you don't have to wait till you get the other materials to get those assembly tokens. Although how the assembly hall works is a little bit different. we can get into that if you want. But yeah, basically the fix for that problem was to make it so that there wasn't that bottleneck sort of at the end of the game.
All right.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
Having just played the second version, I can concur that fixed that, because it was a bottleneck. It was a choking point,
Yep.
which was fun in and of itself a little bit because it created a little Christmas conflict. But yeah, I actually really like what you did with allowing the first person to go to that spot to get victory points if other people select more tools or more blueprints, I guess in this case.
That's
I thought
right.
that was a really creative way. That's probably my favorite new thing about the game.
Yeah, that's I hear that a lot. And that's a mechanism that we're pretty proud of coming up with, where just in a little more detail, the first elf placed in the room gets one of these assembly tokens and one only. But thematically, they are helping any further elves that come into the room. So any further elf, the second elf comes in can get 2 of those tokens, but the first elf gets points. And then the third and subsequent elf can come in and the first 2 elves get points. So it makes a little bit of a decision point where, do I want to go be the first one in and only get 1 token, but maybe I'll get a lot of points if other people come in. And it creates a lot of, tends to create a lot of good table talk too. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to help. Come on in. Come on in. I'm
Very
ready to
good.
help.
Very good.
Chris, what you got, man?
All right, yeah. So I was going to say a follow up about the getting the blueprints and stuff like that. I kind of like the game of chicken also that it caused, right? It's just like, well, yeah, because there's table talk like you talked about, but there's also kind of just that innate game of chicken. Like I can go there and get 1, but maybe that's all I get. But maybe I get a bunch of victory points as well. So yeah, that was good.
Yep.
All right, so mine's slightly off the beaten path, but still based on games. For you, if you can only go to one convention a year, are you going to Gen Con, Origins, or something else?
Great question. So the convention I've been to the most over the years is a semi-local convention. So I live in Fairfax, Virginia, outside of DC. Down in Charlottesville, Virginia, is a convention called PresCon. It's a smaller convention, about 500 to 800 people maybe go, depending on the year. And it's I don't know if you guys have heard of the WBC, the World Board Gaming Championships.
Yeah.
So PresCon is sort of a mini version of that. And so they hold heats. They have, 100 different games where they have heats and tournaments, but there's a lot of open gaming too. So I've been going to that for, 13, 14 years now. And that's also easy driving distance. So I guess that's the one I go to, but the flip side of that is it's not very conducive to a game designer. I'm not pitching to publishers there or anything like that. So in that case, and so I'm already cheating in the game, I'm giving you 2 answers. I would go to Origins. I've been going to Origins 6-7 years, and that's where I originally pitched the first edition of Rio Grande. And I find it easier there to maybe get in contact with publishers. They're not as busy as they are at, say, a Gen Con. Now, I've only been, this past year was my first time I've been to Gen Con, so I can't.
Oh, really? Okay.
Speak with great authority on it, but so anyway, that's my 2 answers. PresCon here in Charlottesville in February, which is to play and have fun. Origins, if I want to go and network and talk to publishers, that kind of thing. So
very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I concur. Gen Con is its own thing and it's fun, but it is crazy. It's just insane. So so back to Santa's Workshop for a second. Like I said, I played a lot of the first version. I think I was there the first year it came out at Origins. In fact, I think you may have taught it to us at the Rio Grande room, or maybe not taught it to us, but you were playing the room. You were doing your
I was walking around, sure.
Yeah, doing your thing. And so we loved it. It was a game I did not expect, anticipate, or anything like that. It just was like, wow. And that's what I love about these conventions is you run into these games that are totally off the radar, that it's like, oh, this is cool. But having played the first version a lot, I have to, there's a lot of things you change that I love. I love the reindeer set collection. I love the ornaments. I don't like the fact that you got rid of my strategy, which was to build chintzy gifts with plastic.
Yep.
I was the cheap elf, man. Was that what was the thinking behind getting rid of that? Just too much stuff going on, maybe, or
a little too much stuff going on. I will say, working with Elf Creek Games was a little bit of a different experience than working with Rio Grande. So with Rio Grande, I pitched it to Jay Tummelson, and he sort of then found an artist and then sent me off to just do the game and then get back with him when it was done. Elf Creek, Brent Dickman, the owner of Elf Creek, and Mike Hinson, they were a lot more hands-on. And then later we brought in Paul Salomon to be the developer. So Brent had a clear vision from the get-go that he wanted this to be more of a 1940s Christmas story sort of aesthetic.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there was plastic, sure, in the 1940s, but not
like it is now.
Not like it is now. So he had that vision. I will say
cool.
that was the that's the thing that I really the only thing that I regret giving up from the first edition, because I really like that mechanic as well. So, you know, and I keep telling people, if we're fortunate enough that the game does well and Elf Creek wants to do some expansions, you know, that'll be on the top of my list to kind of talk them into, because I definitely like that as well. And just a little bit of background on that, the inspiration for that, I don't know if you guys played an old Days of Wonder game called Coliseum.
Okay.
Where
Heard
you,
of it, but yeah.
that was reprinted by TMG a few years. Anyway, in that game, you're putting on shows in the Roman Coliseum, but you don't need all of the sort of recipe fulfillment things. You might need lions or gladiators or minstrels or whatever. But if you put on the show with less than is on the card, you get less points. So that was sort of my inspiration for the building toys with plastic, to make them worth less points, but maybe build them faster and then get more toys to more kids to win Santa's inspection.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I hope to bring that back maybe.
Well, overall, despite my being nitpicky there, I do think it's a great. The second edition adds some really cool things and makes it more approachable and does some cool stuff. So
great, thank you.
All right, Keith, you had said something about getting into the Milton Bradley games, and you mentioned Axis and Allies, which was one of the Game Master games. Did you own any of the other Game Master series? Is that something that you were into back in the day?
I owned at one point. I owned both Fortress America and what was called Shogun back then, right?
Yes.
Which has since gone through. Then it was called Samurai Swords, and then I forget, Yakuza or something was the third name of it. There you go. I see you pulling it out.
Yep.
So,
you show off, John.
Let's get that bad boy out right
yeah.
there. There we go.
So I had those. I got to say, it's been a while. My memory might not be quite right. Either I had them or a buddy had them. Those were games we played. None of us ever had. The other one that I know of was the Broadsides and
Boarding Parties.
Yep. That one I never played. But yeah, Axis and Allies by far was the most played one of those.
Yeah, it's fine. And you actually finished the games. I had a hard time ever finishing most of the games. I'd finish Broadsides and I'd finish Fortress America, but all the other ones we would start and never finish.
No, we finished them. You know, I had a group of friends that were, you know, we were all, let's face it, we were all nerds, and we'd get together for 6-8 hours. After college, I lived with some buddies and I introduced them, and that was, you know, we lived 3 of us in a house, and we would leave that though, you know, because we were bachelors, we didn't really use the kitchen table for eating at. So we would leave it set up on there and play it over the course of a few days. But yeah,
nice,
very cool, very cool.
I like the just the idea to just never use the table for its intended purpose. That's
yeah.
If you're eating, you're sitting on front of the, you know, on the couch in front of the TV or something like that. We're not
exactly
using the table. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the kitchen table's meant for gaming.
That's right.
All right, so you actually answered without knowing it my second question. I was going to ask, like, what's the difference in working with one publisher to another with this reprint and stuff like that? So you kind of talked about that already. So that was really interesting to find out. Also, I was going to say I thought it was interesting that you thought, you know, one con over the other is easier to talk to different publishers and all that different stuff. That was the thing. So now my hard-hitting question, hard-hitting question. I see you're wearing are you a hockey fan, or are you just like their sweaters, or which are, for those who don't know, the jersey?
So I got my North Pole Knicks hockey jersey on.
Nice.
From Geeky Jerseys. They're you haven't heard of them? They're a company that produces hockey sweaters for all sorts of geeky things. I have 2 Santa ones, and I have a House Stark Game of Thrones hockey jersey. So
how cool.
That's cool.
I can't say I'm a huge, I'm not a huge hockey fan. I watch it. In fact, I'm going to a Caps game, Washington Capitals. Going to a Caps game next Wednesday. I'm a big college football guy, so I went to Virginia Tech, and it's Virginia Tech night at the Cap Center. Not the Cap Center. Ooh, I'm showing my age. The Cap Center was 30 years ago. Whenever the MCI Center, it might even be something new. Anyway, going to the Capitals game. They're doing Virginia Tech night, so we're gonna be the first hockey game I've been to in person in quite a while. But looking forward.
Very cool.
Not to lose any teeth.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it goes better for you than Andy's last game off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Just stay off the ice, man.
Yeah. I'll be probably up in the nosebleed section.
There you go. So I got a question for you. You mentioned possible expansions, and I have actually thought about some expansions for Santa's Workshop that we'd like to do,
Yeah.
like stuff with like naughty and nice people and
Yeah.
sending them different things. But one of the things we do on Around the Board is we sometimes publish parodies of board games
Yeah.
that will never probably ever be pitched. But do you think I was just thinking with the Santa's Workshop thing, it made me think of the old church lady skit and Santa and Satan. And I was like, maybe Satan's Workshop could be a parody that we'll do here Around the Board in the future.
Yeah, no, you could send the tormented souls around to collect brimstone and
that's right.
Yeah, I don't know what else.
So I might hit you up for your contacts there at Elf Creek for pitching that one in the future.
Yeah.
John, what you got?
Just real quick, you had mentioned it sounds like your gaming arc was very similar to mine. You know, playing normal games, then the cool Game Master games came out. You got into those, got out of gaming, got back into it as the hobby exploded. What was your gateway game that got you back into the hobby, or was there one?
Yeah. So I remember a work friend of mine named Grant invited me over to play some games. We played one called China, which I don't think I've ever played since. This was a good 15 years ago. And then I believe that same day he threw me in the deep end and we played Puerto Rico. And I was just like, what is even happening here? I don't even understand. Wait a minute. I can take an action, but then you guys get to take the same action that I did at a lower level. But then I wait, but I need you to take that action. But no, you didn't take the action I needed you to.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it was, I'm pretty sure I finished last by a lot. But I was just like, this is crazy. Where's the dice? Where's the roll and move that we're going around the board? Where's my army figures I'm moving across the Eastern Front? So it was a whole like eye opener. So yeah, I remember Puerto Rico was very early. So
yes, it was cool. Very awesome.
Yeah, John,
Chris, what you got?
John all the time jokes about playing games with new people the first time, and they're like, "Oh, where's the dice or where's the spinner?" And
yeah. I think
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think the next game he introduced to me after that was Power Grid, which to this day is one of my favorites. And that was just that one I researched before we played, and I said, okay, I got to go learn about this game and what's the winning strategies. And of course, I still finished last, but that one I still have out on my shelf and all the expansions. I love Power Grid.
You just became Chris's BFF. He's a big Power Grid fanboy. So
yeah, Keith, I've been playing it since like it came out and stuff like that. But it wasn't actually it was actually through the course of this show that I finally I never really okay, what is my favorite game and all that. I never really done it. It just hadn't mattered to me. But through the course of the show, I've come to this realization that Power Grid is my number one game. So
excellent.
Another hard-hitting question.
Yes.
You talked about how you had kids that are younger and now older.
Yep.
Do they get more gamey as they get older? Fingers crossed here. Like my son's starting to slowly get it there. He's 9, but I'm just hoping that it just slowly increases and I finally have that in-house game group.
Yeah, not so much.
Dang it!
At least for my kids. I mean, they still both play games and enjoy games. My daughter is a junior in high school. She definitely prefers the lighter side of games, like a Splendor.
Sure.
Calico is one she likes, or what's the newest one? I brought it from Randy Flynn, Cascadia. So she likes that level of game. My son, he actually got into, before he left for college, we would set up and play the Star Wars Rebellion. Speaking of Axis and Allies, I have the I don't know when they were published, 7-8 years ago now, the Western and Eastern Axis and Allies that you can combine into a table that you need to play on your basement floor, right? Because it's so massive. It's 6 feet long, the board at that point. So we did that a number of times.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it depends. He's not one these days to sit down and want to play a lot of Euros. But yeah, he likes breaking out those types of games. We did start Gloomhaven with him, but we never finished, and that's sort of sitting collecting dust now. But yeah, so I guess I shouldn't poo-poo too much on it. They do still like games, but sometimes I gotta twist their arm a little bit.
Sure, I hear that. Well, it's better than just they find out about the other gender and they're like, I'm out.
Well, that's happened a little bit, but it's life, right?
That's life. Well, hey man, we got time for one more quick question from everybody. Right. You mentioned You
Oh,
mentioned that when you guys did the redesign a little bit with Elf Creek, you brought in Paul.
Yeah.
He's the designer of Honey Buzz, right?
Yes, he is. Yep.
Okay, cool. It seemed like some of the art was a little similar to maybe to Honey Buzz a little too. I don't know.
I don't know who the artist on Honey Bun was. Honey Buzz. Andrew Bosley did a lot of the art, and Jackie Davis for Sam's
Okay.
Workshop. I don't think they worked on Honey Buzz, but
Okay, maybe not, but
yeah.
interesting. Okay, I like Honey Buzz. That's a good game too.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit too. So,
any other games that you've got in the works or any ideas you're working on that you could share with us?
sure, I've had a couple. So, the life of a game designer, right? I've had a couple that have been with publishers, and then for one reason or another got dropped. So my friend Paul that I mentioned way back at the start of the show that sort of introduced me to game design, him and I have been working on a game called Magnificent Marvels for 5-6 years now. It's sort of an engine builder where you're connecting cards together, and how you connect them together sort of will dictate how one resource feeds into one. They're supposed to be part of a machine, so you kind of run your resources through the machine, and it transmogrifies them and spits out things to build more machines and that type of thing. We've been through, oh gosh, I think my hard drive is on like version number 27 of that. So we've been doing that for years. We had it with a publisher for a while, and then it was a first time publisher, and then they just never got their act together and kind of went belly up and never got that published. So we still pitch that on occasion. Working on a couple other things. I had another game called Holmes versus Dracula, which was actually a 3-player game. One person was Holmes, one person was Dracula, one person was Moriarty, and it was a asymmetric game as Dracula was trying to find his true love in London, and Holmes was trying to stop him, but Moriarty was also doing his crime scene thing. And I had that with a publisher for a while. They wanted me to bump it to 4 players, which I tried to do, and it never really gelled. And then after about a year, they kind of said, we don't think it's quite far along enough for us. And that one sort of, I burned out on that one. I put it on the shelf and haven't been back to it. But I got a couple other ideas I'm working on too right now. My main one is like an African photo safari game where it's sort of you move around the map of Africa, take photos of animals, and then you put them on your grid in sort of a Sudoku-ish game, depending on how the different pictures line up in your grid. So that one's, at the, I don't know, 60% mark. So I haven't actually pitched that to anyone yet, but kind of working on it. Game design is very much a side hobby for me. So it's, when I can get around to tooling around with things. So
Right.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, man.
yeah.
Cool. Well, one last question here, Keith. Just because of what you just said then, and something I was wondering about, as a game creator, do you have to be kind of careful and guarded with how you discuss your ideas, because somebody could just steal them, right? I mean, there's no hardline code of ethics in this, is there? I mean, so are you kind of details of games you kind of keep close to the vest, or no?
Yeah, I mean, not so much for me. And I sort of trust the sort of industry experts that talk about that and say, that there's no real benefit to, certainly not trademarking or copywriting or anything like that. And so I think it's better to get your ideas out there and, get feedback from people and play test with people. And, I've heard of people making playtesters sign NDAs and that type of thing. And that just seems like way too much work. There was occasionally I will see an idea of mine pop up. I was working for a little bit on a game. I say working, but not much more than writing down ideas, called First in Flight. I have an aerospace engineering background, and I was interested in making a game about the Wright brothers and the race to be the first in flight. And lo and behold, I kind of sat on that for too long, and it came out just recently.
Yeah.
And who did the publishers? I'm blanking on the publisher.
Yeah, I don't remember
Ben
either.
Rossett and Matthew O'Malley, who are friends of mine, designed that game, and I was like, well, that's I sat on it for 2 years and didn't do anything with it, and it serves me right. But no, I'm not too worried about that. I'd rather get input from people and maybe kind of trigger the creative flow a little bit more.
Cool. All right,
Very
Andy,
cool.
you want to close us out with your mellifluous voice?
Yeah, by all means. And Chris, unless you have one more, you want to zing one in there or not?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was going to say, I'm going to hold my final question for you to turn it into lots and lots of questions because I'm personally working on a pirate game. So I'm going to use my last question as a lot of them in the future to you. I'm going to bounce
All
ideas
right.
off to you. But I want to say, I don't know anything more about this game other than what you just said, but I don't know, something about a 3-player game only. Like recently we played Junta, which is a game that Randy likes from way
Yeah.
back in the day, and like you can play it at other numbers, but it's basically a 7-player game.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a whole lot of 2-player games, a whole lot of 4 and 5. There's a lot of games that are said 4 but best at 3, sure. But I don't know a whole lot of games that are just a 3-player game only. So I don't. Something about that just jumps off the page of me. I just say pick that up. Get that.
that
I want to
was
see that.
that was one of my one of my design
Selling
points
points
or whatever going into that. So
Yeah.
and I because so there's a game called Rise of the Triumph. Was it Rise of the Triumvirate?
Rise-
It's a
oh.
3-player game only, and I was
Hmm.
looking to make a 3-player game that was not like where the third person ends up becoming kingmaker or something like that.
Right.
That was part of what I was looking to do, but again, the publisher that was interested in it, they need to sell games, and their point was, hey, having 2 to 4 in the box is going to be better for selling it than not. And anyway, I do want to get back to that one at some point, but it's kind of shelved it for now. But yeah,
I understand. And for all those reasons, it makes sense. But I don't know, something about it just because I recently, especially, I've really liked the games that are very different than everything out there, and so like obviously that sounds like it, and that's what's got me excited. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sitting on the hot seat, man. You survived. Anybody else out there, if you have questions for Keith, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We'd sure love to have you as a subscriber here on the show. Let's continue now as we head to, what is it, round 2?
Round 2. Fight!
All right, in round 2, we are going to do a classic right around here. It's called Play Shelf Trade. And by the way, we've had a lot of new subscribers lately on the show, so I want to just give you a little, those of you that might be brand new, to give you a little heads up on what Play Shelf Trade is. It's you may be familiar with the game from the playground called Kiss, Marry, Kill, and maybe go by some other names as well. But anyway, it's like that game, but we're talking, and not instead of potential mates, we're talking about board games, of course. And each time we play, we present 3 different games. We'll go around the board, letting each contestant tell us which game they want to play right now, which game they consider a lifelong keeper worthy of sitting on the shelf, and which game they go, I guess if I have to trade one away, it's going to be this one. So with today's games, we've got 3 winter-themed games. First up is Frostpunk. It is a 2022 release. Massive cooperative survival game based on the video game of the same title. It's rated an 8.3 on Board Game Geek, which is really good. It also has a complexity rating of 4.31 out of 5, which means it's a little bit difficult. And a little known fact, this is one of our behind-the-scene judges, Randy's favorite games. Next, we've got Endless Winter, which was also released last year. It's a 7.8 on BGG, ranks 3.28 out of 5 in complexity. More of a traditional Euro worker placement game with some different scoring mechanisms like set collection, area control, a little light deck building, similar to Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium. And finally, we've got a great winter-themed racing game that harkens back to the days of old. If old is 2008, which I guess it is in this industry. That's when it was released. It's actually a really fun racing game that's easy to integrate to anyone in the family. You're racing a dog sled, and what's kind of interesting and unique about that is you have to keep the dog sled balanced. You have 2 dogs that are pulling the sled, and they have different speeds. Got to keep them balanced so you don't run into the walls. It's a 7.0 on Board Game Geek. Very enjoyable as well. So I'm going to start us off. What would I do with these 3 games? It was actually a little bit of a tough choice for me. I did get Endless Winter played just the other night, and after playing it once, I think it's going to be my shelfer. Now, I am a traditional Euro-loving guy. I love me some worker placement, and it really fit that niche for me. And I thought it had some uniqueness to it from other worker placements that made it stand out. So that one, for now, is going to stay on my shelf. As far as play, well, this one was tough because I wanted to give Frostpunk a try, but, I have a history of just hating cooperative games. I just do, and I just can't bring myself to do it, especially one that's going to last like 4 or 5 hours, which it seems like Frostpunk tends to do. So I'm gonna trade that one away, and I'm gonna play Snowtails, which is a game I've had for years. The only reason I'm not keeping it on my shelf is I think Endless Winter is that much better. Snowtails is a fine game, but it's more lighter fare. It's more entry level gateway, and nothing wrong with it. But that's my play shelf trade. Keith, what did you think after looking at these three?
Yeah, so I've never actually played any of these three. So I was looking into it, and I don't want to have a boring segment here, but I sort of am lining up with you. So Snowtails I've heard about for a while, and that's one that I think I could get to the table right away, especially with my family, my kids. And my wife plays games too, although she tends to like the lighter games. So that's one that I think I'd like to try right now, just based on what I've heard from it. And then putting on my shelf, I did waffle on this one a bit. I will tell you, I do not like deck building. That's like my least favorite game mechanism. I won't say I hate, but I don't like Dominion. That's the granddaddy of deck builders. But there's been games recently that have come out. You've mentioned a couple of them. I really like Lost Ruins of Arnak, that have sort of a deck building element in that. So I can take it in that sort of dosage. And I really like the whole Euro, big Euro guy, obviously Sam's Workshop. I'm a worker placement guy. Endless Winter I think is going to be going on my shelf. And then I don't hate cooperatives. I like cooperatives. We played plenty of Pandemic around here, and we've made it through 2 of the 3 Pandemic legacies. But just something about Endless Winter seemed a little much for me, although the table presence looked great. That one is one I'm going to trade away as well.
Frostpunk, yeah, okay.
Frostpunk. Yeah, Endless Winter I'm putting on my shelf. Frostpunk I'm trading away.
Well, let me tell you something. There is no need to apologize for agreeing with the smart one on the show. So you're fine. You're in good company. Now let's hear how messed up John is.
Well, I'm not too messed up, but let me tell you this. I was in that play with Andy on Endless Winter. Endless Winter, I got to get played again. After playing it once, I got to get it played again, because that's one of those games where you go into it and you're 2-3 turns in, and then the matrix starts making sense, and you're like, oh man, I want to try this again. I want to try this, and I want to try this. So Endless Winter, yeah, that's definitely my play. That's hot, and it's got to get to the table. Snowtails, I'm going to go ahead and put that one on my shelf. I have played that a few times, and it's the approachable game, the game you can pull out when a couple of family members come over and all that, and nobody's going to be intimidated by it, but it's still got a little bit to it that it makes it a real game. So Snowtails is the one that I would keep on my shelf for that kind of a situation. We haven't pulled this phrase out for a while, but Frostpunk is going to be gone like yesterday's Judas. That's what we used to say around here. But that is our yesterday's Judas this week is Frostpunk for me anyway. And the thing about it is, yeah, I know it's a good game, and I know just like these other games that I talk about, even when it's a theme or something that I don't like, if there's a lot of passion put into the production, it's going to be a good game that's going to resonate, but it's not going to get a chance with me, not at a 4-hour playtime or whatever, and co-op and blah, blah, blah. So no, sorry, Frostpunk, you're going bye-bye. Chris,
you know how hard it was for me to not just lie, because I know that our judge Randy likes it so much. I just wanted to lie and suck up for the points, but I didn't.
You just
Chris,
want to do what he always does.
Yeah, well,
exactly. Just do what you always do. Okay, so with that in mind, what you just said, I want to trade 2 of these games, but I have to keep one of them or play one of them.
Ouch.
All right, so I want to play Endless Winter, because I've not played it. I've heard good things. You guys have the good things. However, I was not at that game. I had something going on yesterday, and Daniel was there. He told me about it, and what I heard most about this game is instead of being called Endless Winter, it should be called Endless Setup.
Yes,
there is a insane amount of boards and tableaus and everything that you have to do to get this game going. So that was already kind of a knock for me, because I'm like, if I'm just spending a bunch of time setting up, I'm gonna play some 18xx. That takes some setup time. I'm gonna play that. But anyways, I want to play that. It looks interesting. I like the deck building mechanism, but it's funny that you're on the show, Keith. I really wish Daniel could have been here, because I could have just right cross knocked out Daniel. Daniel likes to say that Arnak is a deck builder, but you confirmed that is not, because you hate Dominion and you like Arnak. So it is not a deck builder, Daniel. I know you're going to watch this episode 5 times. I know you're going to skip over this every single time, but I don't care. The truth is out there now. So anyway, so there's that. And then, man, Snowtails is fine. It's a fun game, fun family game, that kind of stuff. I actually do enjoy it, but it's okay. I recently was finally able to get my copy of Quest for El Dorado by the good doctor, so I don't really need the light deck building. Actually, it's not deck building, but the light race game that in Snow Tales is anymore. So I'm going to trade it, and because I have to shelf something, I'll shelf Frostpunk because, like everyone said, it takes a long time. It's fairly convoluted, but it is great. It is very good, but it is like, and you do have those moments that you have with a lot of co-op games that you're like, couldn't just one person play this all by themselves? You definitely feel that way while you're doing it, but they worked really hard on it. It is a good game, even if you don't have the crazy amazing components, which Randy does. It's cool, it's great, and the game itself's fine, but like, it does take a long time. I'd much rather play a shorter co-op, but if I'm going to have to put one of these games on my shelf forever, since I don't know about Endless Winter, maybe that would end up being the shelf. But for now, I'll put Frostpunk because I do know I like it. In the short few times that I would actually want to take it off the shelf, so go with that.
Okay, Chris, I'm surprised you didn't say this because this is par for the course for you, and I know this is the real reason you're putting it on the shelf, and that is that it is the most valuable game.
Well, correct. Now I would trade it. Actually, I was going to say I was going to trade Frostpunk or Endless Winter for the money, but I use that stick too often, so.
That's true. But
I'll tell you the other thing about Endless Winter is it seems like it has endless expansions, right? When I
that as well, correct. The setup's insane,
true.
and then there's all these expansions.
I looked up on Board Game Geek and I was like, wait, which one of these? And they all have a subtitle, even the main game. I was like, wait, which one is the actual main game?
Right.
So, yeah.
I had the exact same experience a few days ago when I was trying to research it. I was like, okay, I thought, because when you search it, it gives you like 10 results or whatever, and all of them was like the name : something. I'm like, well, these are all expansions. Where's the base game? And then I found out it was one of them was the base game.
Yes,
it had just
Paleo Americans, I think, is the
it was
game.
just like, what? So whatever.
Well, you out there that are watching and listening and viewing, why don't you tell us what your play shelf trade is? We'd love to hear it in the comments, and we'll read that on a future show. In the meantime, we've got a very special announcement about how you can win a copy of Santa's Workshop 2nd Edition, but you'll have to wait until...
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Or is it? In a new tabletop adventure from around the board, harken back to the days of yore, where prophecy and attempted murder are in the air. Gather your friends and family for a game of hidden roles in an epic adventure about to be played out. It's Secret Herod. You play as one of two factions, Herod and his army of baby assassins, or as the humble servants of God, including Joseph, Mary, one of 3 wise men, or a donkey, one of which will be randomly assigned possession of baby Jesus. It's a game of intrigue. Will Herod kill the newborn king, or will he be thwarted as the savior of the world escapes to Egypt? Find out in Secret Herod.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh not included. No donkeys were harmed in the filming of this commercial. And remember, baby Jesus always wins.
All right, well, welcome back. And as promised, a chance to win a copy of Santa's Workshop 2nd Edition. Keith, show us, you got a copy there that you can show off?
I do. I got a copy right here.
Ooh.
Here is Santa's Workshop.
Very nice.
So this is the cover art by Andrew Bosley. One thing I'll mention is that you can see, if I hold it up here, there's a numbering. The first 4,000 print run is what Elf Creek is calling the first Christmas edition, not to be confused with the first edition, which was the Rio Grande game. This is the second edition of the game, the first Christmas printing. It comes with a couple extras. One is that it's a numbered copy. The other, if you can see how the title is super shiny there, foil printing on Santa's Workshop. Let me crack it open real quick. You get this little Christmas bag in this edition that you can use for whatever. I have some reindeer cards in there. People are using it to store their coal or their Christmas tree ornaments.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then this edition comes with the first promo pack inside the box, which is a 10 cards, I think, in the pack, which is 5 extra toy cards and a 10th reindeer. So you get 3 reindeer cards for the advanced version and 2 for the standard version. So, which I don't think we talked about, but I don't know if people need to know that there's actually 2 games in the box. There's a standard version, which is good for, I call it the family version, whatever, good for families, younger kids, people who aren't gamers. And then there's the advanced game, that's the one that's more similar to the old Rio Grande game. It's sort of for gamers, not so advanced, but mid to light to mid weight sort of worker placement. So that's all included in the box. And so we've got this first Christmas edition here to give away, I guess.
I never did ask, but how did you come up with the so the reindeer? I noticed there was a set collection, and I think the max is 9. There's 9 different reindeer.
That's correct. And this,
how did you come up with the extra name?
Yeah, so a lot of people are wondering, where's Rudolph? Well, I'll tell you where Rudolph is. He's at the bank collecting all the money he makes because he's copyrighted. It's actually
that's funny.
Yeah, it's actually to go on a little bit of a tangent. It's an interesting story. The creator of the Rudolph story was a guy named Robert May, I think, who in the 30s was working for, I'm going to get this wrong, maybe Macy's, and he created the story to drive people to come into Macy's and buy products based on the story. Well, Macy's, not back then, at least not the evil corporate greed that we have today, they allowed him to keep the copyright. He was a widower with 2 young children. And so the Rudolph copyright stayed in his family. Today it's the Rudolph Company. And they want a lot of money to use Rudolph in products.
Wow.
So we did not use Rudolph. And instead, our 9th reindeer is Velvet, which is actually an animal companion in Elf Creek's one of their other games called Merchants of the Dark Road. Which, if you did not play that, I recommend you do. That is a big, sprawling pick up and deliver. Lots of stuff going on in that game. But yeah, it ties into their game. And the 10th reindeer in the promo pack is Randolph.
Ooh, I like that.
The green-nosed reindeer. So anyway,
I like
you can shuffle him into the reindeer deck, or take any of the other 9 out and put him into the deck, and that's what's included in the first promo pack.
Okay. Well, I like that little Easter egg information about Velvet. We were discussing that. We're like, how do they come up with that name? Interesting. So.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Easter eggs, there are a number of Easter eggs throughout the game for various, relating back to various Christmas movies and other things. Take a look at if you get the game, take a look at the BB gun card. The gift cards all arranged so that you can sort of see in the background a letter to Santa from various children. And you might guess who the letter to who wrote the letter to Santa for the BB gun. So
Very cool.
I was thinking, as I was going through the gifts, I was like, I wonder if you could build a leg lamp in here. Anyway, very cool, man. Well, guys, you can win a copy of this. It's real simple. We got simple directions for you. This is going to be this awesome copy signed by the designer, Keith Ferguson. And what you need to do to get that is you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast, and you need to email us at mail, M-A-I-L, at aroundtheboard.net. And if you've already subscribed, that's okay. You can still enter the contest. Just get your mom or your cousin or somebody else to subscribe, because we need your subscriptions, man. Come on. Help us out here. We're desperate. Well, only in the U.S. only. That's a good point. On the continental U.S., we don't have shipping available, unfortunately, overseas. But here in the U.S., Santa will deliver, or at least your local postal worker.
Santa is real in the continental U.S.
Yes. Santa's only real here. That's right. And the deadline will be January 28th. So, yes, keep that in mind.
2024.
2024 through the end of January, basically almost, and then we'll get that out to you so you can have an early holiday gift for next Christmas. So, anyway, let's get back to why people are here. They are here for a reason, and that is to play the game.
Round 3. Fight!
Round 3, we have obscure themes, and I love the photo that Randy got. It looks like Elvis on a unicorn or something. I don't know. I want to play that game, but we kind of all each thought long and hard about what's a theme that we like that we've not seen in games or would love to see in games more. I mean, I thought about it. I came with trading in the Mediterranean and trains was what I was thinking. No, obviously not. There's enough of those. But what about trains in the Mediterranean? I think those are called boats.
Trading trains in the Mediterranean.
Oh, there it is. Anyways, so my real answer is, so I play bass. I'm nothing amazing, but I play some bass guitar. And I got to thinking, what about, because at one point there's actually a whole community also on YouTube of it about buying these like kits and sanding them and painting them and putting all the electronics in them and soldering and everything like that, about building about building guitars and stuff. And so I thought, what about a game about building and was inspired by playing Santa's Workshop of making all the toys. What if this one's a kind of a game about building like instruments? And as we know, or at least I assume you know, like there's every kind of shape, every kind of color, every kind of different electronics and everything like that. So there's a whole lot of different things that you can kind of piece together in these like Frankenstein type things. Maybe a game where almost kind of like it's not exactly some way a canvas, right? Where you just put different things together and it makes one thing. And, you could kind of do the Andy thing, make them really cheap and get small amount of points, or make like real, like amazing, $5,000 style kind of guitars and worth a ton of points. Just do that once. So I don't know. That was what I came up with. I was just trying to think of everything. And there's so many games out there. There's so few that there are these themes that aren't even already done. So it's hard. I talked to a guy at Meeple-a-thon that had a game where the theme was a Brazilian steakhouse. Like I don't know if you've ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse where they come around with the meat and they cut it off, but yeah, he had some sort of like set collection game with that theme. Like I was like, I love Brazilian steakhouses. I never even thought about making a game like that, right? So it's hard to even come up with one that hasn't been done. But that was kind of what I was thinking about. So the idea of just making different instruments and making them expensive, making them cheap, maybe like a sales type thing you got to do. So yeah, that's what I thought. What about you, Andy?
So just to clarify, the game here is to come up with your own obscure theme, correct?
Yeah, which is building guitars.
Okay, which is building guitars. Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that I knew what I was doing here.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh. Here we go.
I'm notoriously unprepared for these things, Keith. So actually, you did tap into something that I have thought about doing that is very, very niche to me, and that's because I'm a voice actor. And so I know a lot of inside things about the world of voiceover and voice acting. And I thought about making a game based on it, but it would be, I don't know how well it would sell, because it would not mean a lot to probably a lot of people. But I did think of one of the things you could do. I thought you could play as different player characters that have different powers and stuff. And so you may have heard of some of these guys. You probably guys have heard of all these guys, maybe. So one of the characters would be Deep Voice Don, you'd be playing as Don LaFontaine. He was a famous movie trailer guy. He passed away back in 2008, but he was the In a World guy, that guy. So you could play as Deep Voice Don. I had another one where you could play as Manic Mel, and that would be, of course, an ode to Mel Blanc, who did all the voices of all the Looney Tunes and stuff like that. And then some of the other characters, they're a little lesser known. There's one called Promo Joe. It's based on a really famous voice actor named Joe Cipriano, who did a bunch of promo stuff. He was the guy that was always done an all-new Fox Sunday, did that voice and stuff. But anyway, that was kind of something that I started to hash out and tried to do, because I thought, well, nobody's ever going to have done this. It'll be very unique. But then again, it may just be way too niche to like ever be picked up by anybody. I don't know. That was my idea for an obscure game. What about you, Keith? Got anything interesting? Now, you've already told us about some of your ideas.
Yes, he might have a few ideas.
Yeah. So this was one. So just a little bit of background, which led me down the rabbit hole to this idea, was we're big skiers in my family. So my wife and my son are both on ski patrol. We go over to West Virginia and go skiing a lot. They go more than I do. I can't go all the weekends that they go. Now, there's a couple games about skiing, but that led me down the path. So, in fact, I have one called Skull Mountain Ski Fest, and then there's another one I just backed on Kickstarter called Alpenglow. But that sort of led me sort of to the broader sort of sports thing. And I'd had this idea once upon a time, is having a board game based on the Olympics. And, of course, you could have two games. You could have a summer and a winter. And I was thinking, there might be the first 75% of the game is sort of a Euro game somehow, where you are training your athletes, you're deciding what resources or what money to put into what specific events, to try and maximize your gold medals or your medal count at the Olympics. And then like the last quarter of the game, somehow, I don't know how it would work, it would be a bunch of mini games. All right, we've all done the first, we've all prepared. Now we're holding the Olympics. We're going to do the 100-yard dash, and we're all rolling dice or whatever we're doing to see how our guys do in that. And then we're moving over to pole vaulting, and then we're moving over to gymnastics or whatever. There's a bunch of mini games that, however, in the first 75% of the game, you've done something to affect how these mini games will happen for the Olympics at the end of the game, and then whoever has the best medal count wins. It's
Sounds
probably
cool.
far too complicated, but
No, actually, I mean, you could hash that out. That might be cool. I'm already thinking of an expansion that has to do with IOC corruption.
There
Which
you
might
go.
be a host city and stuff or something.
yeah, how many laborers, how many labor deaths does it matter? Building your
How many
stadium?
athletes are not competing under their country's flag, but like, the athlete from the former Republic of anyway.
Right. The steroid expansion, sure.
That's
yeah.
right. The
There you go.
steroid expansion.
Man, this game's
Lying
making
about your
itself.
age and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all the rage in East Germany.
Yeah.
John,
All
what
right.
you got?
Well, let me tell you what I got. Growing up, like shortly out of high school, some of the first jobs that I had were in the retail industry, specifically in grocery stores. And I always thought supermarket management would be a really cool theme for a board game. Because I'm thinking you could have different locations. Like, say, he's got a location downtown, you've got a location in the suburbs, somebody else has a location like in a small town, and so you might have different priorities. You're trying to achieve customer satisfaction. Like downtown, you want convenience, man. You want those people to be able to get in, get their stuff, get out. You can charge more, so your profit might be higher. But how high do you want to have it to where your customers aren't satisfied? Or you could have the fancy frou-frou suburb, man. You can go to the spa or whatever when you're at your, you added on all this cool stuff to your grocery store. When you got these people in a small town, they're like, stack it high and tight, man. We just want cheap stuff out of the box. And so I don't know. It just seems like there could be a lot of different variety in there. Or maybe you could have it, like you're saying, where sometimes you have the game where everybody has the same conditions, or you can have it like I say, where you have the different powers, where everybody's got a different location. They have different priorities for their customers. I don't know. To me, I always thought that just the running of the super, there's so many things involved in it, man. And like, hey, you bought new carts, your customers are going to be super satisfied for 2 years until those wear out, and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of ideas in there that are untapped in the supermarket genre, but that's just me. What do you guys think? Is that have possibilities?
It seems legit. I mean, a decent portion of the things you were saying, I'm like, that just sounds like food chain magnate. But the carts and stuff like that, they're in the different areas. I like it. I like it. Kind of almost like a Civ city building game, except it's just within just a supermarket. It sounds good.
Exactly.
I like it.
Exactly.
Are you gonna have to hire the teenagers to go round up the carts from the parking
That's
lot?
right.
Well, yeah, or you can have the homeless do it, I guess. I don't know, on the cheap. I don't know. That was a joke, everybody.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very cool, John.
All right. Well, now that we've offended a bunch of people, let's go ahead and close this one out. So, do you have an obscure game that you think is a great idea? We'd love to hear it, because I mean, this was fun. I wasn't sure how this segment was going to go, but it actually was super interesting to hear the different types, and kind of really got my brain going. I really like all the dice. I really like the idea with what John had to say. So let us know what you got, so we can steal your idea and make a game out of it. No, not really. We won't do that. But like, share, and subscribe, and yeah.
It's funny in talking about this. It's like I think one of the problems with the board game industry being so inundated with games is that the same themes are used so much with like agriculture. It's like it's either an agriculture game or it's sci-fi or fantasy, and it's like, how do you stand out if that's what your theme is? So.
Because it's not about the theme, it's about the game,
Yeah.
Andy and Daniel.
Speaking of being about the game, let's go to round 4. Fight!
Board game, believe it or not.
Cool. Round 4 comes to me, and it's for the award-winning Believe It or Not segment. There's a couple things I want to say real quick. I thought it was funny how Chris mentioned there at the end, those are some good ideas. Even John's. How about that? That was the real shock. Even John's was a good idea. And then what
did not mean for it to come out that way, but fair enough.
Then Andy, what you just said there about there being so many different themes, because what we do here on Believe It or Not is I'm going to have everybody. I've got 8 to 10. I can't remember how many it is because they get all thrown around in here. 8 to 10 games here. Roughly half are real, half are ones I made up, and everybody's going to pick a number. I'm going to read that game, the name, the year it came out, and a brief description. and they're going to say whether they believe it or they don't believe it. And we're going to go around the board, and everybody that gets it right will get a point. If two people get it wrong, I get a point. So I usually score all that well, but we talk about some fun games. And I really like trying to stump these dudes. But it's funny what you said about there being so many different themes out there. It's true, because I don't know how many times I've sat here and I'm like, oh, that would be a great fake game for Believe It or Not. And I'm here writing down the name and I'm writing down what happens in it. I'm like, I better just on the off chance, let me just search Board Game Geek. There's the exact game name and a very similar game.
Wow.
Like, you're kidding me. Throw that away. So now that's the first thing I do. Search Board Game Geek once I get an idea. But anyway, that being said, we usually let our guests go first there, Keith. So if you want to pick a number between 1 and 8, and I'll get a game here ready.
Let's go with number 4.
Numero cuatro, right here. All right. Dawn of the Dead from 1978. Has everybody familiar with the movie Dawn of the Dead?
Yep.
I'm surprised with these group. Keith, I knew you would be. Dawn of the Dead from 1978. Based on the classic horror film. Can be played as 2-player competitive, solitaire, or cooperative. The grid pattern game map represents a shopping mall from the movie. The zombies win by killing 3 characters. The humans win by securing the mall. Keith, what do you think? Do you believe it or not? Did Dawn of the Dead, the board game, come out in 1978?
1978 seems a little early for co-op games and how that happened. I thought maybe I'm mixing up my movies. I thought Dawn of the Dead was when they were sort of stuck in the house for most of the movie. I don't remember a shopping mall, but I may be mixing up my of the Deads. So,
There was a lot of
yeah, I think I'm going to say that this one is false. This one's not a game from 1978.
Keith is a not believe. Chris, we'll go to the wait, let me give you your intro. And the man in this corner, comprised entirely of twisted steel and sex appeal, we go to Old Man Chris. What say you, buddy?
So Keith, I will let you know, like this is something that John really is fantastic about. I feel like as time's gone on, he's got better as well. He throws in little pieces to throw you off. Like immediately when I heard that 1-player, I was like, there's no way there was a 1-player game in the 80s or late 70s. Like, it's impossible. But I've been wrong, like hardcore. Like, I was wrong about this game called Envelopes of Cash. Like, next level wrong about it. It's a real game. It's fantastic. So I'm still going to go with my gut, though. I'm going to say that you got me a hook, line, and sinker, John, but I still got to go with my gut, say it's not real, because if nothing else, the 1-player game back then, there's no way. So
Chris is also a not believe. We go to the man, the face, the voice, the hair, Andy Barnett. What do you say?
Well, you know how I do this. I do this purely as an odds person. And so since they both said not believe, I'm going to say believe because I want to try and win.
For no other reason.
No other reason.
Andy is going to say believe.
Exactly. But you saw me, American people, that I went with my gut. I knew I should have gone something different for the game reasons, but I still went with my heart because I'm a good person. So
see, then Andy wouldn't have known what to do if it was 1-1 going to him. But anyways, guess the Dawn of the Dead, believe it or not, did come out in 1978.
Yeah!
I couldn't believe it when I had seen the game and I looked it up. I could not believe that description, that it was cooperative, solitaire, all this stuff. I'm like, no way. In 1978, it looks like one of those old time war games, with all the little kits that you put on the thing. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like one of those old time war games, but it's got the Dawn of the Dead theme. So pretty wild.
I would love to play that just to see what it's about.
Yeah, it could be pretty cool. Chris, what do you want to do there? 1 through 7, I think we got.
Through 7, we'll go 7.
We'll go 7A. All right, what do we got there? 7, we've got Christmas Spirit from 2010. This year, the Big Cheese himself has decided to bring in some migrant elves to help with demand. He even gave them their own factory floors. Each player takes control of one group of elves competing to create toys for Santa. Whoever creates the more and better toys than the other groups is the winner and has a little job security for the next year.
Yeah. So
what do you think, Chris? Is this a pre Santa's Workshop from 2010 called Christmas Spirit? Do you believe it or not?
I'm going to break the rule here. I'm not going with my heart. I'm going with so I don't get canceled, people. I am saying this is not real, and I denounce it if it is.
Chris is putting up his cross,
Exactly.
denouncing the evil that is Christmas spirit from 2010.
Not okay.
I'm also going to go with the not believe because I tried to do a little research for the show. Originally our play shelf trade was going to be Christmas games, but there's just not that many out there, honestly. So we had to go to winter games. So yeah, if it had been out there, I would have seen it. It's a not believe for me.
Alrighty. Keith, what do you think, buddy? Did somebody do this before you almost?
No, I don't think so. I looked a little bit too in the midst of sort of researching for my game, and I don't recall ever seeing anything like this. Although you have me nervous now that I just totally missed this. But yeah, I agree. It seems a little too maybe spot on with your pseudo political reference in there. So,
Exactly.
so I think I'm on board with saying no. This is not a real game.
Well, believe it or not, guys, Christmas Spirit did come out in 2010.
Oh my gosh.
And that was quoted right from the description, the migrant
No
workers.
way.
It was.
It's bad.
But there's not even a photo on BGG. And so I don't think this was a very wide release, and it got some really low ratings. It's like a 3 or something. So it's pretty bad. Other than the theme, it's probably unrecognizable from anything Santa's Workshop's doing.
Yeah, if there's no theme, I feel like this might be one of the there's at least a handful of games that are like questionable if they're real, like almost just lore, and they're always in bad taste. So
yeah,
I wonder if
like a
this is
troll
the same
listing.
case. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, there's been some over time. So anyways, either way, just glad that. Well, I guess it did come out theoretically, but
I don't think anybody's seen it.
Anyway.
Nobody's seen it long enough to take a picture and put it on
No.
Right.
Although I picked up, there was one of my game stores that we played at was closing a number of years ago, and this game had sat on the shelf and was like literally dusty. So I bought it as a joke called The Big Wheel. It was a Monopoly knockoff. It was made in the 80s. I was the first person to upload a picture of it to Board Game Geek. So
Wow.
it may be a similar situation.
You never know.
Funny.
That's crazy.
Big Wheel.
Speaking of the Big Wheel, Andy, what do you want there, buddy? 1 through 6, I think is what we're at now.
Well, let's go with number 1.
Number 1. All right. Here we go. Underground Laundromat from 2018. In this card drafting game, each player creates a hand of ill-gotten gains, which they must process in order to avoid suspicion. The vehicle they use for laundering this money, a laundromat business they use as a front to hide their dirty deeds. The trick is to get a high return on your laundered bucks and avoid sabotage from your opponents. What do you think, Andy? Did Underground Laundromat come out in 2018? 1918, that'd be something. 2018.
That sounds pretty cheesy, but sometimes cheesy gets made. So I'll go. Sure, I'll believe it. Why not?
Andy's a believer. Keith, what do you say, buddy?
I'm a big fan of puns, but there was a little too much puns going on in that description for me. So although I haven't believed anything so far and I've been wrong each time, but still this one, I don't think I'm a believer on this one either.
So we got to believe and a not believe. Chris, it's up to you if I'm going to get a point or not. What do you think, buddy?
Man. Okay.
So
So
first of all, you've been wrong both times, right?
correct.
And you were 0 for the whole time last.
I could go back to back 0-4s, 100%. But Keith hit it right on the nose there. It's like I didn't believe the first 2 times I was wrong about, but whatever and stuff like that. And so the law of averages would say that this one should be believed, but it is random, so who knows? Obviously, this is a reference to Breaking Bad. Because that they have the laundromat and they make like the meth under. Am I the only person to watch Breaking Bad? Anyway,
no, I watched Breaking Bad, but there was no mention of drugs, so I didn't.
Oh well, but ill-gotten gains and stuff. Maybe just think it. So I feel like this might have been a game that someone saw that and they were like, "I'm going to make a game like that people will want to play because it's like Breaking Bad without paying the licensing money." So, I'm gonna say
when did Breaking Bad go off the air?
I don't know.
I want to say it was like 2014. So this is a little late for me for that.
It's late for that, but it just my brain immediately goes to it because that was a big part of the show. So sure. I'm going to say it's real. I'm worried I'm going 0 for 2 shows, but I'm going for real.
2 believes and an unbelieve, I believe. Underground Laundromat, believe it or not, is the game I made up the other day. So,
oh, gosh. Was it because of Breaking Bad?
No, it was because of the deck building game about deck building.
Yeah.
And I was like,
okay.
oh, it'd be cool if it was a laundromat where you launder money. So, all right, we'll do one more. Keith.
Oh, that's right. You get one more. All right, guys, still got a chance.
1
to
through
not go
5,
over
buddy.
too
What do you
soon.
want?
What do we got? Let's see. We'll do number 4 again.
Okay, we'll have to reassign it.
Oh,
Okay,
we said
there
1
we
through
go.
5, right? So
Yeah, I kind of reassign them as I go anyway. So this is the closest to 4. How about this is okay. King Oil from 1974. Buy properties, drill for oil, link properties with pipelines to collect royalties, and try to be the richest player. And it has a board like Fireball Island, the big thin plasticky board, and you drill with a little drill, and when you prop it down, it comes up off the top of the complex there, and you have little discs on the side that just spin around to randomize it, and you don't know where the oil's going to be, where the oil's not going to be. So, Keith, what do you think? Did King Oil come out in 1974?
you had me until you started going with the Fireball Island thing, because I thought 70s was a big oil was in the news a lot. It sounds like a little bit of a Monopoly knockoff, but I'm not quite. I don't know. You know what? I'll believe you this time.
He's like, I'm talking himself out of it. Then he says, "Believe it."
You would not lie to me. I'm sure of it.
Clearly, you don't know John.
Yeah, exactly.
Keith, believe. Chris, are you gonna go over, buddy? Tell me what you got.
Oh man. So again, just like he said, like I was like, okay, seems legit. And then the Fireball Island, the plastic thing. However, they did love their gimmicks with games back in the day. Like, so but then like the idea you had where like you spun it around and stuff, I don't even my brain lost track there. I couldn't even understand what you were talking about. So I'll say it's real. It's so gimmicky that it probably is.
Okay, well, it's 1-1 to you, Andy. Do you even have any idea what to do?
They both said they believed it, right?
Yeah, we both.
You both believe it. My bad.
Yeah.
I guess not. Then I guess we know what Andy's going to do.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to break my own rule here. I won't play the odds. The reason is, if I've just heard the description, I would agree that it sounds fake. But I could have sworn that I've heard actually an old friend mention this game or something similar. He mentioned an oil type game like this, and he might have even had the word King of Oil or whatever in it. So I'm going to say it was real.
Google.
No, my friend is not Google.
Oh, so what are you saying?
I'm saying it's real.
You are going to believe it. Okay.
Believe it.
Well, believe it or not, King Oil did come out in 1974.
Hey!
And when I went to read this, I'm like, oh crap. Keith and I grew up at the same time. He's going to know that this is a real game. But yeah, there was like these big discs that ran all around the whole board that had holes in them, and so you'd spin them around, and so they'd line up to where the little plunger would go down a certain depth in each hole that's on the board where you're drilling for oil. And so sometimes that one would be a geyser, sometimes it's a dud. You just don't know until you go drill.
You played this game?
Oh yeah, I owned it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh! Like,
I
we gotta
pulled that
find a
out of-
copy of this. This sounds ridiculous.
Pulled
I
that
gotta
out of the
see
memory
this in the
banks.
flesh.
Yeah.
I gotta find it on eBay or something. That's wild.
It's pretty
Very
cool.
nice.
All right, well, that's all we got here. I didn't fool them one time. I think there's only one time I didn't fool at least 2 people. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good for Believe It or Not. But what did you guys think of Believe It or Not? Did I fool any of you out there? What did you think? And let us know in the comments. And always, like and subscribe. But that brings us to the end of our show. By golly, let's see who's the winner here. Well, we got Chris there as the bottom feeder with 11, but he got up to double digits.
I was the
Andy's
lead
at 12, and then tied, and ties go to the purple square is me and Keith. So Keith is the winner. Good job, Keith.
Amazing.
Yay! So Keith, tell us what you want. Talk about whatever you want. You got it, man. You got the floor.
Talk about whatever
buddy.
I want. Yeah, I've been sitting here trying to think of what I talk about. So let me just give a little bit of. I guess I'll talk. I've been learning a lot with this process of Sam's Workshop and with Elf Creek, more than I did with Rio Grande, about what goes on in terms of making a game. And there's a lot of, pun intended, moving parts that goes on in making a game. So I guess I just tell people, when you're playing a game, reviewing a game, thinking about a game, leaving comments on Board Game Geek, just, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes than you may realize. And you may get some broken meeples. You may get this in your box. These publishers, for the most part, are very small businesses, oftentimes 5 people or less. I would say just be treat them with a little bit of grace that sometimes I don't see in the message boards. And they will do right by you. I know we've had a couple issues. It's sort of funny, and we'll see when we give away the Sam's Workshop what the listener gets. But there's 5 colors of elves in it for some reason, and each of the elves has 3 different shapes because of your different elves you're training. For some reason, whoever was manning the production line for the silver elves didn't quite get it right that day, and so people are getting boxes full of the same 3 silver elves. Doesn't affect gameplay. It's quirky because it's just the silver elves, but we will make it right for you. But beyond this game, I would say just remember that these publishers out there are small businesses that are doing their best to bring you games that you love, and to treat them in that regard. I'll climb down off my high horse, and that's my message for everyone listening.
It's a good holiday message too. It's the giving season, so give your best reviews and be gentle with people.
Sure.
Don't be a
we all
board
make
game
mistakes,
Karen.
man.
I want people to be honest. I'm just saying, just
Right.
just remember what's going on in the business. So
Absolutely.
Don't be a board game Karen, but watch our video about it.
Yes.
we did do a segment on board game Karens. So anyway, well, man, thanks so much for being on the show. It's been fantastic to have you learn more about Santa's Workshop, some of the behind the scenes stuff, and of course, we're excited to give away a copy. We're going to wrap up the show with a little segment we call relegation.
Well, I'm looking forward to the definition of relegation.
All right, people. I'm hoping right now in post we can kind of bring a real sad, like, doo-doo-doo kind of song going on, because it's finally happened. A pioneer in our hobby has fallen and is no longer worthwhile playing. I even turned the lights behind me down. You're taking their time here.
What is this? What is this
Because
news? You're killing me.
I'm pouring out for Kalis. His time has come and gone. It has dropped out of the top 100. Thank you, John. Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Poor Kalis. Poor
I know,
Kalis.
it really hurts. It's my heart, because we all know if it's not in the top 100, it's a terrible, awful game, and it should never be played. It just really hurts my heart that we've gone there, and it's no longer. And I don't even know how to pronounce this game. It's Turkarion? Legends of Illusion. I've heard other people talk about it, but I don't know how to pronounce it. I figure someone had to represent Daniel and not know how to speak. But it bumped off Kalis, and the only upside here is I do see Keyflower move from 97 to 98, so it's on its way. At least that's going on. But
Keyflower's amazing. Shut up.
But it's a sad day that the pioneer for the worker placement Kalis has fallen.
So Kalis has dropped off the top 100 on Board Game Geek, is what you're telling us. Okay.
Correct.
Well, that is sad. We'll shed a tear for that. They should probably just take Gloomhaven off and put Kalis back on.
That does seem like an appropriate choice.
I may be in the minority there. So
where's the newest Kalis? Is Kalis 13 or whatever it is, 15?
I don't. That's a great question. I'm not sure. Now, it's possible. I don't know, because I know I recently, because of the segment, found out that that Great Western Trail and Great Western Trail 2.0 are both in the top 30 because they have separate entries for them. So let's find out. Let's see what the other Kalis is at. It's Kalis 1303, 948. So it's way down there. It's dead in the water. You gotta play only the newest and hottest games. Can't play anything else.
That is a quirk. That is a quirk with BGG they got to figure out, is because there's different editions of games and they've got to combine the votes somehow or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually have the 1303. I haven't got it to the table yet. I've been wanting to play it, but I guess I can't anymore.
All right. Well, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone out there. Keith, so much thanks to you for coming on the show again. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it. And for all of you out there, you wonderful viewers, remember to check us out on all the different social media. We've got a Facebook group. You can mail us anytime. Mail at aroundtheboard.net. And until next year, we wish you a happy holidays, and we'll see you around the board.
Yes, we will.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Let's throw some cards here. Woo. Oh, that was terrible.
There's that Shogun again. It's still never been played.
I'll just put this
Shogun.
on.
Been around since the 80s. Still has never been played, baby.
Really?
Comment below what you get for Christmas. Let us know.